this celebration of life and supporting all of us in her passing. So Sue was a great lover of music, as many of you know. And so we're going to start with a song that she requested in her directive. And Jason is going to be our instrumental accompaniment for today. So Jason. Thank you, Jason. So, just going to invite everyone in this moment to just stay in this space. And if you'd like to close your eyes, you can do so. How good it is to come together in this open-hearted space in celebration of this magnificent, radiant woman, Sue Sommer. So we open our hearts in this moment to her, to all that she meant to us, and we open our hearts to each other. That we may support and share and lift each other and her ever higher this day. Just blessing her impact, blessing her influence, blessing the magic that she still is because she is alive in each one of our hearts. And we come together this day to celebrate her life, to celebrate all the ways that she showed up and made the world a little bit better, or a whole lot better. So just standing in the gratitude for her, for all that she is still. Standing in the gratitude for our capacity to love, even when it hurts sometimes. And just standing in the gratitude for the opportunity to come together, to be with others who knew, who loved, and who appreciated Sue. So we bless this time, and we know it is a time of upliftment and healing, and it truly is a time of celebration even in the midst of the tears. And so it is. Amen.
Ashe.
So a unity tradition is that we call what you might normally call a memorial service, we call it a celebration of life. Because for one, we don't believe that life ends just when we exit these bodies. We believe that there is an eternality to the truth of who we are. And we also believe that we are here to celebrate this gift that is life, that is what we're here to do and to be. And Sue did that so beautifully. So she wrote this and left it for all of us to read and to understand and to live into right now. And she was really adamant about this: no mourning. I have no regrets. And she has made people promise that they would not be sad. And I have to say that I have been struggling with that. Really struggling with that. It was my gift to know Sue for many, many years through her very good friend, Gregory Spencer. And Sue, when I landed here at Unity in Marin, Sue just threw the doors open and just welcomed me with an open heart. And I was blessed to walk with her through these final months as she was navigating leukemia. And she and I got really close. And there's not a whole lot except I can say, except I miss her tremendously. I still have voicemails from her on my phone that I cannot bring myself to delete. So there is so much about Sue that we want to celebrate and lift high. So I want to make this a space where we can cry, but that we can also laugh, and we can also celebrate, and we can stand with each other. We are holding her family, her brother John, her sister Patty, sister-in-law Catherine, in prayer, in wholeness, just lifting them up. They're with us here today. So just know that we're holding you both. And everyone who is watching on the live stream, there are a lot of people watching remotely right now. Sue had a lot of friends. She knew a lot of people. She grew up in Southern California. She called Arcadia home, even though that wasn't where she was born. That was her hometown. That's how she always described it to me. And she has friends from her elementary school there. She's got friends from Arcadia High School. She's got friends from Long Beach University. She's got friends from Chapman University. She's got friends from when she was on the World, what is that called? The something boat? World Float, yes. She's got friends where she traveled around the world. I have notes, and I don't have them with me, as you can tell. She went to Dominican to get her teaching certificate. She met so many people there. I see those of you who are here from Novato High School. She was part of what founded the Creative Arts Department at the Marin School for the Arts. She created that. She was an artist. You can see some of her artwork here that John has brought in for us to take a look at. There's also cards that she made that are in the lobby that you can help yourself to. She touched so many people with her art. She touched so many people with her writing. She was a lover of poetry and words. And she believed in the power of teaching in a way that was just always so inspirational. She was married twice. She has no regrets. She met Ray White in 2010, and that relationship was so integral for her. She was a longtime member here at Unity in Marin, and she is deeply missed at every moment. And she was also on opera boards, and she loved jazz. And so a lot of this, rather than my dryly sort of sharing it all with you, My thought today was that we're going to open it up to friends. And so I've invited people who represent all the various aspects of her life to share and to speak. And we're going to intersperse that with music that she requested that we use. And so right now, I'm going to invite Melanie Carter to come on up here. During the last week that Sue was in the hospital, she kept saying to me, "I need my daily word. I need my daily word." And so I came here, made a special trip here, I got her the daily word and brought it back to her, and it was like a weight was lifted off her shoulders the minute it landed in her hand. She was devout with her practice with the daily word. So this daily word is from that week, and it brought her great, great, great comfort.
Although I love and celebrate Sue, this time of adjusting to her physical presence not being here is very hard. And in the morning at 6 when I woke to rehearse and be able to do this, there were sparkles in the corner of my bedroom. And they moved toward me. And what I have is that I can feel her presence. I can feel what it was like when she was here, and she will always be a part of me. We have an affirmation this morning. Daily Word was such a beautiful part of her life, brought her comfort and inspiration. The daily word the week that she was in the hospital. Sue asked Reverend D to bring her that particular day, August 11th. And the affirmation is, "I am mindful of my oneness with God." I am one with God. Living from this awareness fills me with peace. I touch this peace. In this perfection, in the silence, here as I leave the cares of the world behind and become fully aware of the presence of God, the past and future fall away. There is only the vast, pristine, present moment, the eternal now. I carry this awareness like an anchor that keeps a boat from being tossed on choppy waters. My mind, my mindfulness keeps me anchored in God. No matter what is happening around me, there is a stillness within me. I am at peace. I am fully in the present moment, no longer anxious about the future. I am mindful of my oneness with God.
Melanie. So some very dear friends of hers, Barry Pilger, put together a video with photos that we asked people to send. So we're going to watch that now. That's like the best picture ever, right? So now we're going to have some sharing from people who know and love her. Tom McCullough, if you could start us off.
Good afternoon. I've known Sue. I met Sue probably in 1987 or 1988 at Unity when we were Church in a Box over in Larkspur. And as you could see and as you know, she was always a bright light. And thank you for putting together that slideshow, because it was obvious that Sue really gave herself to life. Wouldn't you say that she was 100% alive all the way down the line, right up to the very end? Years ago, I had a friend pass away, and I was kind of bereft, and I was searching around for some way to contain that and honor that, and I came across the Tibetan book of living and dying. And in there I found a practice called a poa. It's a visualization practice, and I've used this for many, many years since then. So I'd like to share it with you. This is something I wrote for Sue the week before she died. Dear Sue, notes for a teacher. You have always been there for me, for us, holding the high watch, holding us all in the fullness of our God-given potential, always and every way. You have been a constant ray of sunshine and a strong one, persevering through the worst of times, smiling broadly and deeply in the best. Let us hold the high watch for you now, Sue. And this is where I ask you to visualize Sue standing before you in her vigor, her perfect Sue-ness. We see you in our mind's eye, standing before us in your vigorous, shining presence. We see an army of loved ones, teachers, mentors, angelic souls, Buddhas, Christed beings, enlightened beings surrounding you, sending massive light and love to you and through you, Sue. This light penetrates your very being, body and soul. It purifies you, burning away all obscurations and defilements, as it's written, revealing the true essence of you, Sue, our friend, our teacher, our loved one, in brilliant oneness with God, with goodness absolute. I know this is true because I know who you are at your very essence. You are goodness and love, joy, strength, and kindness. This has been known to me since we first met almost 30 years ago. And I'm only here now just to remind you of this truth. Blessed be Sue. God bless. Godspeed.
And I'm going to invite Mary Wood and Marty Schwartz to come on up, representing the village. Come on down.
I first met Sue when she moved into a townhouse 2 doors away from me. There you go. Okay. Sue was my neighbor, and I knew her, she loved writing, but she was still teaching. But I had been a teacher too, and I knew that had a limited amount of extra time because English teachers probably, we called them the slaves of the teaching profession because they had so many papers to correct. And I know Sue was a very dedicated teacher, but after she retired, I thought, I belong to an organization, and Marty and I belong to, we're volunteers with Marin Villages. So I began to talk to Sue about maybe volunteering too. So she agreed and she came to our first meeting, and she said she had the idea of starting a newsletter, a monthly newsletter. Now, Marin Villages is a group of members and volunteers who support seniors to help them with a variety of services to help them remain independent and in their own homes. Marin Villages provides transportation, we do social events, we have bocce, it's so many different things. So Sue brought this idea to put out a monthly newsletter which would include her writing and other writing. Marty will be an example of that. And that newsletter went out once a month by email and also by hard copy for the members who did not use computers. Well, I went to BJ and asked if she had a printed copy of one of Sue's newsletters. So she printed one out, which it's almost a magazine, but it's fabulous. And the quality of her writing and her work is very evident, and I'll have it outside after the service so that you can see what she did. She I started looking through it and I saw an article. This was the July newsletter. And I thought one that struck me as very interesting was, she called it Bits and Pieces. She said it was her confession. She said, well, we're thinking of the Big Bang of the 4th. For me, it marks the halfway point in my own Big Bang, which meant the illness that she was fighting. Unfortunately, it was not the halfway point. But she gave this advice to all of us: slow down, hold on to the handrail, don't wear rubber flip-flops, and do one thing at a time. And she said she didn't do that. Well, I thought, this is so untrue of Sue. She never slowed down. She never did one thing at a time, as you could hear from all of her, the activities that went into her routine, the art and so forth. So shortly after the 4th and after the this bad fall that Sue had taken at home, she went into the hospital and because she had developed an infection. Well, after a week, she called me and said, could I give her a ride home, which I did, and got to the house, and she headed right upstairs to her bed. It was obvious that she was struggling. But what she said to me was, Mary, I have to get the September newsletter out.
I first met Sue when she came on the steering committee for Twin Cities Village. And I used the word, she brought her lively nature, but you said radiant. And that was really a better descriptor. She had a great sense of humor, and she gave us some kind of a new direction We're the newest village in the Marin villages, and so, we're still identifying kind of who we are. And she was a catalyst that kind of brought the committee, it brought us a new focus, and she also really worked at enlivening our social events, and we always had some direction to follow. She shared her talents and her gifts freely, her art and her writing, and I saved a card that she gave me at one time, and I treasure it. It's so life, and then she also left a number of the gift tags, and Mary has them, and we'll put them out after this. When she took on the newsletter, she really encouraged members and volunteers to contribute. And sometimes reluctant writers, as myself, did to contribute because she was relentless. Yeah. And even when she was really struggling and she had all her own challenges, she would reach out and shoot you an email or give you a call to find out how you are doing. And I'm so happy to be here because I know one little portion of her life. And through the sharing of our memories and how she entered our lives, it makes a whole picture of this wonderful person. And she is missed. Thank you.
I'd like to invite Jason forward. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon. For those of you who don't know, my name is Jason Myers and I play the piano here. I've been here since 2018, and shortly after I started playing, Sue was one of the first people to come up to me and say hello. And she told me she liked opera. And I just kind of looked at her. I was like, and she goes, "You don't like opera?" I said, "I don't know what they're saying when they're speaking in English." She got a kick out of that, but she's also a big jazz fan. And she mentioned how Ray had been hosting a jazz program and that he would really enjoy my music. So I gave her a bunch of CDs, and from that point on, we were fast friends. And after every service, she'd come up to me and we'd have a big hug. And I always look forward to it. We were outside one day, after service, we're going to cars, and Sue's car was parked next to me. That thing was like pristine clean. She looks at my car and said, "Well, you win the contest for the dirtiest car." I said, "That's true, Sue, but I also won the contest for saving the most water." But I think this picture here exemplifies who she was. She came up to me, and mentioned that she had, come out of remission and the cancer came back. And that's the face you always saw, even when she described what she was going through. When Ray had moved away and she had a heavy heart about that, this was the face you saw in spite of all that. So for me, this picture and this face is how I'll always remember Sue, and I hope we all do too.
Thank you, Jason. So Barry and Catherine, who put together the video, I asked them, they've been friends with her for so long, so I asked them to do a short little video, and that's what we're going to watch right now.
Hi, I'm Barry Pilger. This is my wife, Catherine Moss. We're in the Midwest. We're phoning this in, tribute to Sue. We've known Sue for 25 years. As we knew that we were losing Sue, Catherine wrote a tribute to Sue and sent it to all of our friends who'd gotten to know her at our house. And Catherine would like to read that tribute now.
Sue Sommer had pluck, and she had spunk. She also had courage. courage in the sense that she was full of heart. Before she told us 2.5 years ago about her leukemia diagnosis, she made us promise that we would not be sad. We said we would try, but she was not having that. She said we had to promise. When we met Sue about 25 years ago, she was pulling up her proverbial socks. Having come through a divorce, she'd been happily married, living in San Francisco, engaged in good works, including serving on the board of Marilla, the young artist training program for San Francisco Opera, where we met. At the time of our entrance onto her stage, she'd enrolled in a teacher certification program at Dominican in Marin, and within 3 years, she was named Teacher of the Year, an honor bestowed typically on teachers who had been teaching for a very long time. But no longer able to serve on the Marilla board, Sue did what Sue did. She opened her home to young students in the Marilla Opera Training Program, and she continued her good works in a different way. Sue did not just teach high school English. I think she remade it. Teaching at the Magnet School for Performing Arts in Novato, she taught language, grammar, usage, and comprehensive understanding of literature through culture and grammar. Noticing that her students tended to make the same errors in grammar and usage, she did another Sue thing. She wrote a witty, illustrated manual to help students catch common errors. Barry and I spent many an evening discussing how she would approach that book. The Bugaboo Review is now in its 4th printing. Her former students became her friends and stayed in touch. She taught for 18 years. When she retired from teaching, she left the classroom, but certainly not her mission. Among her projects and good works was the revision of the Bugaboo Review. And of course, Sue organized her Southern California high school reunion in 2021. Sue Sommer no doubt did much more than we know about, touched more lives than we can count. And this is not intended to reflect her entire opus, but rather reflect the spirit of a woman who lighted up every room that she entered, withheld none of herself, and entered her illness with the same embrace that propelled her through her life. She, Sue, a true Southern California girl, loved the sunshine and warm days, whether they preceded her on her journey or she created them. It's really hard to know. But we are among the many who will miss her, who miss her now, whose lives were enriched beyond measure by her. And we're keeping our promise not to be sad, but it's requiring at this moment almost more than we can manage. Sue, we will always love you.
We were honored to have Sue as a part of our orbit, and even more honored to be in her orbit for all these years. We will miss her greatly. We love you, Sue.
So I'm going to invite the choir to come on up here. They're going to sing a song. And as they're coming up here, this scripture, Sue loved scripture. I think she loved the poetry of the words. She loved the beauty of the words. And this particular one came to me. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, nor shall the flames scorch you.
I
Sue would have loved that. She would have been dancing in the aisles. So we're going to do some more sharing. I'd like to invite Denise Shaheen and Gary McConnell to come on down. I get to meet you in person. All these people I've been connecting with via email. Come on down and...
Hello. Hello. I'm not used to public speaking, so I'm going to read from notes if you don't mind too much. First one is from another friend of Sue's who couldn't be here today, and she sent us something to read to you. Hello all. This is Dana Tamura. This is not Dana Tamura, but I'm speaking for Dana here. I'm not here in person, unfortunately, because, fortunately, I am in Ohio, and my daughter, Evan, and her husband, Chris, had their baby who was born on Monday. I'm pretty sure Sue was there with us when the baby was born. How lucky I am having something that makes me say, sorry, let me start again. How lucky I am having something that makes me saying, how lucky I am having something that makes saying goodbye so hard. That's a quote, so I had to get it right. That's a quote from Winnie the Pooh, and it's so true. I am lucky to have had Sue as my friend, really lucky, and it's very difficult saying goodbye. I still see her everywhere, just out of the corner of my eye. So you see, you can get a lot of wisdom from children's books, as I have discovered of late. Did you know that Sue Sommer wrote a children's book? It's not published because she kept working it over and never quite finished it. I guess what the subject matter was all about, English, of course. She published the Bugaboo Review instead. I'm pretty sure most of you in the room know of the Bugaboo Review, and also know of Rabbit, 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 right? I still say that the first thing on the first of each month, just in case. Sue Sommer was the first teacher I met at Novato High when I myself became a teacher there in 2003. During that first year, in addition to teaching video production, I was in the English department along with Sue, and we had things to share. Each day we met in a large closet that we commandeered and used as a small office. And in there we would laugh to the point of crying. Big belly laughs, the kind that makes your stomach hurt. That's not what we were supposed to be doing. We were supposed to be grading papers and prepping, but we couldn't help ourselves. I can't even remember what we were laughing about, other than it revolved around the antics of our students. But Sue had a knack for making me laugh. She made everyone laugh and smile and giggle. We used to go into the city every now and then to go bargain shopping. She had a favorite used clothing store near Japantown that was run by one of San Francisco's fancier prep schools. Sue was really good at finding the rarities and the racks. We walked out of there more than once with an elegant coat or dress or hat. Then we go have lunch and a glass of wine to celebrate our luck. She found adventure and fun in the simplest things. I'm so lucky to have met Sue. She gave me, and all the rest of you here, so much because she was loving and empathetic and non-judgmental and adventurous and happy. She created memories for so many of you through the trips to Europe and sophomore speeches and classroom readings. Did you know that the two hardest things to say in life are hello for the first time and goodbye for the last time? So I'm going to pass my goodbyes off to Winnie the Pooh again, in which Pooh and Christopher Robin go to the enchanted part of the forest and we say goodbye. Goodbye? Oh no, please. Can't we just go back to page 1 and start all over again? Sorry, Pooh, but all stories have an ending, you know. Oh, bother. Yes, oh, bother. I miss you, Sue.
I had the good fortune to have a friendship with Sue over the last 20 years. Sue was delightful, engaging, fun, curious, empathic, and up for almost anything. She was generous, caring, and very creative. Over the years, we enjoyed bringing people together, eating and making good food, and tasting sparkling wine. I enjoyed surprising her by dropping off scones or Lebanese pastries to her door every now and then. We shared many dinner parties with Sue and Ray during their time together, and we had a lot of laughter. Sue visited us in France in our small village, where she was perfectly content to sit on the balcony and write about what she was seeing from that perch. The night of Bastille Day, she could be found dancing in the village square with the new dress she bought at the outside market that day, and soon she was leading the dance line. What fun we had. While in the Bay Area, Sue, Bird, and I went to the Women's March in San Francisco and chatted with Jared Huffman, Sue not missing an opportunity to give him her point of view. Marin Villages was important to her. Last year, when they had their pop-up thrift store, she worked at it as a volunteer. I browsed while waiting for our lunch date, and I found some potential purchases, one which caught my eye. She and I took it off the shelf, turned it over, and to our surprise saw that it was a piece of Sue's, her own piece. We laughed a lot, realizing we had the same taste. And lastly, we are grateful that we could celebrate her 75th birthday with her in June. Sue was brave, she was dear, and she was like family. She will be missed.
Don't mind? Sorry. Now I get to speak for myself rather than Dana. We've been friends with Sue, as Denise said. By the way, my nickname is Bird. That's who she was referring to. We've been friends with Sue since first meeting her some 20 years ago when she was our two kids' high school English teacher. Since then, we've shared many and varied experiences with her: dinners, movies, wine tasting, travel, colleagues, and stories. As Denise has said, we are deeply thankful we did. But going back to our first meeting, our kids reminded us of our weekly vocab assignments. There's some kids in here who know about that. I know. No longer kids, but always kids to us as the parents, right? She would give them a list of words, and they would search for each word's use in their independent reading over the week, and then have to turn in an example of what they've read in the next week's class. We thought it fitting to attempt our own short list today from our reading of the book of Sue. The first word, caring. Countless times Sue showed in her messages and cards and conversations her interest and concern for us, our family, friends, and everyone else she chose to be part of her life. Next, literate. Sue was an English teacher after all. A vocation that went well beyond the classroom. Not only did she share her own thoughts clearly, she never stopped trying to improve her own and others' writing. She even wrote a book about it, the Bugaboo Review. And next, affirming. Students and adults alike felt valued for their views and opinions of the world. For the kids, she was a good teacher and mentor on how to live as an adult. She treated her students as equals and their ideas as valid. Their actions were accepted as part of growing up, or growing old in our case. And next, mischievous. A twinkle would come to her eye that said, "Beware, something provocative is coming." And next, extroverted. Sue could sit down anywhere with anyone and casually carry on a conversation that could last for years. And loving. Birds, cats, rabbits, kids, partners like Ray, and friends like us knew we were loved and loved her back in kind. We, here, friends and family, could add many more words to Sue's list of adjectives. But one word she would never let us leave off is joyful. Even after she hit the wall, literally and figuratively, she wouldn't let adversity keep her from celebrating her birthday. We met for dinner and a movie, and she continued to laugh at herself and with us through our last meal together, as she had every other time we met.
Thank you. Thank you both. And now we're going to invite Dory Eisenhower to come forward.
If anyone doubts that Sue is here, I just want to tell you that before I came into the sanctuary, I was going to grab a little snack from the hospitality table, and I don't really have a sweet tooth. But I looked, and today there were cookies, and they looked amazing. So I took one, and I ate it, and it was amazing. And I thought, I should go back and get another. And I thought, no, I really need to shy away. And I swear I heard Sue's voice say, live a little. And so there's no telling what's going to jump into my grocery cart this week. And that's in Sue's honor, really and truly. When Reverend Deanne asked if I would like to speak at Sue's celebration of life, I leapt at the opportunity and then felt immobile because I thought, how do I distill Sue's essence of who she was, to define her in words, and how ironic that she led the writing group here. And I felt like it was a writing prompt from Sue. Please describe me. And there are some of you here from the writers group, and so my heart is with you. And so many of the words have already been used, but I'm going to take a stab at it and say she was lovely, she was colorful, she was vulnerable, vocal, joyous, generous, resilient. And what's one word for that? She loved Rome, she loved Italy, so an Italiophile. She loved her jewelry and she wore it all, and I loved that. The word radiant has already come out today. Disciplined, sprightly, creative. She used all of her words, including the expletives, which I loved. She's inspirational, compassionate, deeply human, and full of spirit. And still so much more than this very short list of words. Sue inspired me to write. And last year, after feeling the grief of loss herself, I was navigating a really traumatic life challenge, and she took me to lunch and we talked about it, and she said, you should write about it. And we talked about how it would be written and what I would do, and I am actually on chapter 6 of that book right now. And it's because of Sue. So, and I think it's already been said, but the book that I'm writing, I'm also doing a little audio series, and at the tag at the end, I always say, whatever I've just said, just please remember to please leave the earth a little bit better than when you found it. And I think Reverend Deanne already said this. There aren't even the words to describe how much better she left the earth than when she got here. So thank you, Sue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dory. And last, but certainly not least, Gregory Spencer.
Clearly, we've had a lot of the same experiences of Sue, so I had all these notes, and most of it's been said. So I was sitting maybe right over there 20 years ago. I first came to Unity Marin, and on my first time here, in the service, I happened to sit by Sue, and she said, after the service, she said, "You should join the choir." It's like I sang, "You should join the choir." Oh, hi, Chris. And so I did, and at least 10 years I was at Unity in Marin and loved it, and I miss this community. And I live in San Francisco, but I have a process that I have done for decades that I call the questions, and it's a process that helps me and my loved ones maybe once a year, twice a year, go through 100 questions and determine what I want more in my life and what I want less in my life. And one of the questions is someone with purpose whom I admire. And Sue is on that she would regularly come to mind on that list. I mean, it could be Buddha, it could be anybody alive or dead, but Sue was on that list for me, and I admired her in so many ways. Her tenacity with writing skills and teaching in every way, really her teaching skills. I mean, I even thought about the kids, the high school students she would take to Europe. Ben and I just got back from Europe for 6 weeks, and the concept of taking, Europe for 6 weeks, period, but taking a bunch of kids, maybe 30 kids to Europe is like mind-boggling. But that, I can only imagine that would significantly change everyone, all of those high school students, all of their lives in amazing ways. We happened to be going to we were in Rome and all over Italy, but we happened to be going to the Vatican, and she said, Ben was planning our trip, and she said to Ben, "You've got to see the Vatican Gardens." I'd never even heard of the Vatican Gardens, and this was early August, maybe late July, and so we went to the Vatican Gardens, and I don't know how this works, but we both had the sense that Sue was kind of in our pocket, was with us along the way when we were in Italy, and it was very sweet and very comforting. I just had I could go on and on, but again, I don't know how this works, but my sense is, and I would like to believe, let's say, that Sue is in the room with us today. And I thought, I've been doing this process, and I thought if you would be willing to just close your eyes. Just close your eyes and take a couple of deep breaths. Just let go. Just be right here. Now bring to mind Sue's face. She's right here in the room with us. Bring to mind her face. Look her in the eyes. Is there anything you would want to say to her? Anything that you would say to her right now, looking Sue in the eyes? And say that, whether in your heart or out loud. I do miss you, Sue, and I love you, Sue. God be with you till we meet again. By her counsels God uphold you. With his sheep securely fold you. God be with you till we meet again. That's it.
Thank you, Gregory. I know there are so many more stories, and there will be a reception after, catered in the courtyard by her family, so that you can continue to share all the ways that Sue has touched our lives. Listening to all of this and being able to connect with so many people who have known her over the past month or so. This Raymond Carver poem came to me as being just so perfect. And did you get what you wanted from this life? Even so, I did. And what did you want? To call myself beloved and to feel myself beloved on the earth. And Sue was, is, will always be beloved. So we have another song by Jason that Sue requested. So I thought to close this, Sue was all about community. She was all about community, showing up for each other in all different ways. So I would like to invite you, if you're willing, to just rise and that we read this together and that we're reading it for each other. All right? We share each other's grief. The anguish of your heart finds echo in our own. We know we cannot enter all that is felt, nor bear the burden of all who are in pain. We can but offer to each other what our love does give. The strength of caring, the warmth of one who seeks to understand, the silent, storm-swept barrenness of loss. This we do in quiet ways, that no one may walk alone. And so it is. So I'm going to invite the choir to come on up. We have one final closing song, so if you want to stay standing, we will have a reception outside, as I said, in the courtyard. Come on up. Come gather behind me. And just honoring the fact that for Sue, there were no regrets. No regrets. All right.
And we want everybody to sing with us.
In Marin Choir. So we're just going to have a final moment of just opening our hearts to all that has been shared. I offer this proverb, say not in grief she is no more, but live in thankfulness that she was. And that we stand in gratitude for all that Sue is. That even whether or not her body is not present with us, and I do miss her voice, that the essence of Sue is right here, palpably present. And just being so grateful for all that she has given, for as Dory said so perfectly, she truly left this world better than she found it. And so it is. Amen. Ashe. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. You can go out through these doors, through the courtyard. There are cards that Sue made in the lobby over there, and the reception is ready for us outside.